Oh! Welcome back to Route 40 Rust. Ow! This time we're going to talk about how to restore cars really cheap. Ah! Quit! Oh. Oh! 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 Welcome back to Route 40 Rust. This time we're gonna talk about how I can't do it anymore. I know what you're thinking. You know, the word restored was setting the bar a little too high. I agree. I own that one. Let's just say it'll look good in the rain. And if not, it'll look good in a heavily filtered photograph. Or worst case scenario is you'll be standing on your front porch at dusk, staring across a field to the other field on the other side of the fence line, seeing your vehicle stuck in the mud when it was hauling firewood back to the house, and you got rust in your eye. If it looks good from there, we've accomplished something, you know. They'll turn out pretty nice, to be honest with you. You know, it depends how much extra love you give them, but I just want to say that they're gonna be heifers. They're gonna have spots, you know. But hey, don't worry, because I still have the secret trick that I do with all my projects, or anything that I do, that I'm going to share with you at the end of this video. If you only stick around long enough to the end to hear it, I promise you it might be helpful. Or not. Your choice. Well, if we're going to do a project car cheap, gotta have a project car, right? Okay, and there's a lot of ways to go looking for project cars. You could use your eyes, where you just look. 73, 72, that's a 72. You know, you just look in people's yards, just kind of drive around the road. You know, don't get yourself in trouble, but you know, just look. Go knock on the door. Sir, you know, maybe the old timers like, get it out of here, you're gonna have it. $100 scrap, you know, whatever. Sometimes you gotta use auto traders or whatever, you know. But for our particular purposes, we're going to use Facebook Marketplace. Why? Because you could just innocently search without commitment. And the reason I want to say that is you can be patient, because the marketplace, you got highs and lows. You got vehicles where you're like, goodness gracious, I would not pay that at all. But, you know, just wait, because in 8-9 days, the prices are so low, you're going to be like, not in the market. But if I had $400 in a spot in the tree line, I'd be all over that. You know, if the old lady would say, have at it, hon, you know, because that happens. Just be patient. It's always up and down, you know. And it's a good place for me to, you know, give an example of Nathan's 5 P's of finding a project car and jumping on it and making that purchase. And those 5 P's are price, proximity, papers, powertrain, and parts, or part availability, you know. And these are pretty important factors for me. They're no particular order, and you don't have to have one, but if one's lacking, something else needs to step up and make up for it to make you feel good about your purchase. It's kind of like that old saying, you know, you might have heard in the shop, where you can have it fast, right, or cheap. You can't have all 3, but you can pick 2. You know, if you want it done fast and done right, ain't gonna be cheap. If you want it right and cheap, it ain't gonna be fast. So if you haven't heard that, you have now, you know. So we'll use Marketplace and we'll start scrolling, and lo and behold, because my Marketplace suggestions are littered with garbage and trash that nobody else wants, we immediately see this 1978 Chevrolet Square Body, America's iconic pickup truck. And that's saying something, because I'm a Ford guy. You know, I've got four that I know of that are titled to me at this current moment. You know, I love Ford trucks, but I also got a square body, and I love them. Super great trucks, love them to death. Okay, but I picked this particular truck not because it's a great deal. It's really not. This is not a project for me at all. But it had characteristics where I could really flaunt the 5 Ps, Nathan's 5 Ps of project vehicles. You know, you look at the price. A little steep for me for what it is. For you, it might be okay in your area. You know, you can look at the cab corners and, you know, this and that, what's missing and whatnot. I'd like to, maybe the guy's got a baby on the way and the wife says, honey, no more projects, it's got to go. And you show up with $800 and a pizza or something, and, you know, that's good. So there's the price. Proximity, it ain't far from me. You know, it wouldn't kill me to slap a trailer on the truck and head out there a little bit. You know, it's not, you know, you don't have to get up at 4 a.m. and hook everything up, get a thermos of coffee in the seat and head west for 4.5 hours and still might come home with an empty trailer. You know, proximity, that's a big deal for me. If there's a car, you know, 2 properties over, I'll gladly pay a couple $100 more than what I really want to spend just for the convenience factor. That's my personal taste. So proximity is a big one for me. I like them close to home, you know, especially, you know, the state I live in with titles. You know, I can do out-of-state title inspections pretty easy for dirt cheap, and I prefer it that way. Cheaper than getting anything notarized, you know. But some of you guys are lucky enough to live in a state where, you know, you just roll into the license bureau with a napkin bill of sale and some guy, you know, signed it and they'll print you up a title. So, hey, I salute you, because that's a great state, you know. So maybe a title's not that important to you, you know. The powertrain, oof, on our 78 Chevy, we ain't got none of it, and that's a big problem. Maybe you're the type of guy that has no problem with your buddies hanging out on a Saturday night and stabbing an engine into it, you know. And lo and behold, we're on Marketplace. Here's a small block Chevy with transmission, be it 2-wheel drive, for a few $100s. I mean, you're in the ballpark now. You're turning wrenches that night, you know. So where that engine and some prices come together, this is all part of how the 5 Ps kind of interweave, connect, like me and that goat connected the other day. And parts, or part availability. Now, this is something I haven't really struggled with doing 60s and 70s pickup trucks, because there's just so much parts out there. But that 48 Pontiac has got me sweating some stuff, and I'm working on that. So I added the parts availability to my list, because that's something that I care about now. And as it applies to our 78 Chevrolet, there's parts all over the place, you know. So take it, well, we're missing a bed, so that might be a junkyard piece, but it don't matter, you know. This truck, or this particular project for sale, exhibits all the factors of the 5 Ps that you can kind of, you know, throw them on the scale and see where it lists for you. You know, if the price comes down and the guy's 35 minutes from you and it's got a title, you know, and you're like, I've got an old small block in the garage collecting dust that I could, you know, like, just all these considerations come into play. But the biggest factor moving forward once you purchase your project is the parts, and that's what we're really going to focus on here for a little bit. So stick with me definitely to the end, where I share my big secret to success, because I don't have all this luxury vehicles by just, you know, getting lucky. No sir, stay with me. All right, first off, we're going to talk about parts, because the parts is what's going to make or break your project when it comes to how much money you spend. And there's some ways to work around it. First thing, maybe a little dated, but paper catalogs, something I'm really into, and it gives you a hard copy to take with you on junkyard trips and stuff that you can easily source to see what things cost, or even if it's available. A good point with that is, you can see I've got this LMC truck catalog. It's pretty worn out and busted up, and unfortunately it's from 2021, and it's what I used when I did my 1966 Ford project back there. And I was still kind of sourcing this recently, like in 2024, and unfortunately I came across a situation when I was trying to track down some trim molding for that truck that you could still get it in 2021. And then when I got a hold of the new one, I noticed that it wasn't in there. Thankfully so, because I actually got on eBay and bought new old stock of the one piece I was missing. Out of the 10 trim pieces, I was missing one that I couldn't acquire at a junkyard. So it was really helpful to kind of source the catalogs and see what I could get. I think I got 9 out of the 10 pieces from a junkyard for 50 bucks or less. Now they were in questionable shape, but I snagged them up anyway. And then got home and was gonna try some other junkyards and get some pieces in better shape, which I still may, but I could not find the hood trim. So I went ahead and got on eBay and found one for $60, which is more than what I paid for the other 9 pieces, but they weren't selling them anymore, so I had to get it, you know. And overall I'm still under, you know, at $100 for trim pieces. And to go to show you what that would cost a guy if you bought a full set, we'll ignore clips and all that kind of stuff. We're talking, let's see here, hood moldings $130 a piece, door molding $270, cab corners, a little tiny cab corner piece is $100, bed sides are $3, so you need 2. There's $600 in the bed. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, you're well over $1,000 to get the trim molding for the 65, 66 trucks. And I got everything I needed in questionable condition for, say, $100. And I've got some duplicates too. So that's something that you need to keep in mind, that don't always source an online catalog. If you're anything like me and you get on your cell phone and you're looking for a part and you get to the website and you're fat fingering stuff and you're just not, you're struggling is what's happening. And then the pop-up comes up that says enter your email and get 10%. You know, I just get discouraged, and then I hit the wrong thing because the things are so small with my fingers, and it's a nightmare. So I'd like paper catalogs, and I can circle stuff and make lists, and then I go online and manually punch in the part numbers from the catalog on the online, or give them a call. You know, sometimes talking to someone is nice. So that's something to keep in mind. Summit Racing catalogs are great for not necessarily vehicle specific like trim and stuff, but engine, brakes, steering, suspension. Really good deals, you know, free shipping on orders, you know, 100 bucks or more, whatever it is. And they got some locations, oh, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them: Ohio, Nevada, Georgia, Texas, and Ohio. So I usually get it, if I ordered right now, like right this second, I'd have it, you know, 2 days, no problem, free shipping. So you can't beat that. LMC Truck has catalogs for just about any truck that you're into. I don't know about imports, but Chevy, Dodge, Ford, and I've got one for square bodies because the wife's 86 Suburban that we're gonna kind of do stuff to, and it applies to our example truck, the 78 Chevy, which I think was missing a grill. So I bookmarked the grill page, you can see, and I think this is a new volume, 2023 edition, volume 2. Good enough. And you know, that truck was missing the grill. So going for a premium grill with the bow tie on it, which you gotta have that, 160 bucks. And I see the little asterisk, so probably some oversized shipping. That won't be cheap. So now you know for 160 bucks where you're at. But you really don't want to rely on catalogs only. Oh, I got some full-size Ford stuff because engine bay accoutrements like washer bag and everything I found, you know, that was made for like a Galaxy or something. Some Pontiac stuff, and of course the Willys, which, you know. So catalogs, I'll say, are the benchmark for the top tier price that I'm willing to pay for a part that I need on a project. My #1 place to go to will be junkyards, within reason. Sometimes it's just simpler to get a little clip or something like that for $9, you know, on a catalog, and throw a bunch of other crap in there and get that free shipping. But the junkyards are where you're really gonna make up lost ground on a cheap project, and I think it's a lost art. People just don't go to junkyards anymore. Now granted, a lot of junkyards are kind of closing the doors to people just walking around, and you got to call and say, hey, this is the part I'm looking for, and they say, yeah, we got it, and they got to pull it, and they, you know, charge you extra for all that. But there's a lot of good junkyards out there. You can go through my channel and see all the junkyard visits we go to, and I think our honey hole junkyards we've about picked clean, so we got to move on and find something new, venture out a little bit further. But junkyards are great. Now granted, I will acknowledge that you got to take time off, you know, from work, because their hours are 9 to 5 like everybody else, and maybe to noon on a Saturday. So if you know exactly what you want, where it's at in the junkyard, you can pop in there on a Saturday morning and zip it off. I did make a video about junkyard tools. I don't know how to post a link, but there's the thumbnail of the junkyard tools video. It's kind of dumb, but it's helpful about tools to bring, and maybe I discuss junkyard etiquette. If I don't in that video, I'll discuss it now. Yeah, you really don't want to burn a relationship with a junkyard, especially if they got vehicles and parts that you need. So I highly recommend using Google Images, satellite, and kind of scanning the yard like you're a spy. And it's kind of hard to tell what they got there, but at least you could tell if they're late model only or if they got some vintage stuff. Pick up the phone, because most of them are towing companies anyway, salvage yards. So they've got a lady in the office. Yeah. You know, what do you need? You know, so give them a call and just say, hey, do you allow people to come and walk around? And they'll say yes or no. Okay, that clears that. You know, sweet talk them. And if they do, show up, stop in the office, say hello, tell them what you're looking for. They might point you in the right direction, or go, yeah, I got one of those tucked in the back 40 on the right southwest corner, whatever. Past the school bus, yada yada. And my strategy to a new junkyard that I'm visiting is, man, I don't know. I'd say majority of the time, well, ask if you can pull the part first. Say, hey, if it's something big like a door, you know, tailgates, maybe ask them first before you pull it and drag it up there. But little stuff, they might say, hey, go ahead and pull it, and then we'll wheel and deal when you get up here. So clarify that first before you start wrenching on these old things. And then, you know, from my experiences, I've laid all the parts out on on the ground there on a tailgate, and the guy will go, what's it worth to you? And the first time, I'll let them get me. You know, I'll shoot it kind of high, maybe just building rapport with them and letting them know that you're willing to spend a little bit of money, and then you can dwindle it down to, you know, bargaining a little bit is what I'm trying to say there, and save yourself some money. So yeah, definitely check out the junkyard tools video if you haven't already. If you've already, you know, explored a bunch of junkyards and you've got a method to the madness, go ahead and comment below. I want to hear what you guys are doing and what works for you. But lo and behold, on our 78 Chevy, maybe the bed might be a little sketchy to find. You could probably find one that's decent enough to get you by. But to get a real nice clean one, depending on how good of a project you're going to go, you might have to source a donor truck, or that's worst case scenario, or just get on Marketplace again and track down that bed, or if you want to go flatbed, utility bed, something like that. But I think this grill situation for the 78 Chevy, you know, 160 bucks, that's not too hurtful. You might just say, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and order it and have a nice crispy new grill. But if you're budget minded like I am, you might go to a junkyard, and now granted, these things can be plastic sometimes depending on what truck you're on, and they can be broken. You might be missing a little slot there, broke off, but you could probably have it for $20, and that gets you by. And that brings me to a pretty important point when it comes to project vehicles and doing it on the cheap. I'll quote David Freiberger when he says, don't get it right, just get it running. You know, too many times we see project cars that are just totally gutted. People just come out the gate swinging. They totally disassemble the car. It's just a chassis sitting there, and you know, and all these big hopes and dreams. And sure, that's the right way to do it if you're a full-time custom restoration shop that does it 50 hours a week, you know. But for us guys in garages and gravel out in the Lord shop, that's not really a practical approach. And chances are you're just going to have boxes of parts that you're going to end up selling for a loss later down the road. So with that being said, take Freiberger's advice. You know, don't get it right, just get it running. Like this old 48 Pontiac, I'm definitely going to upgrade the brakes, because I do not like single channel brakes. If you remember cruising the 1953 Willys in the woods on that ravine top, and we popped the brake line, and you know, you blow a rear line, you lose the fronts too. That was just life back then, you know. So for the 48 Pontiac, if I'm stuffing the wife and kids in there, I'm doing dual channel. I'm doing maybe not power brakes, but I'm definitely doing at least 2-channel brakes. But just to get it running and not right, I went ahead and granted, I'm not a big Pontiac guy, so I think I had to go to California Pontiac Parts, which is like a website that looks like it's from the early 90s, you know, when the internet first began. And I ordered a master cylinder rebuild kit for $30, maybe $8 for shipping. Now, I'm kind of taking money away from the brakes I want to do in the future, but I feel like if I can't get that car, you know, it's running, we drove it around the yard on Easter, but if I can't kind of just get it where, you know, just get it running, I just want to drive it around, then it increases the chances that I'm just not gonna keep pushing forward with the project. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead, rebuild that master cylinder, slap it on there, and I'm sure wheel cylinders are gonna leak or lines and stuff, but I at least want a little bit of a pedal, so I don't have to, you know, turn the key off, roll it in the neutral, and slightly bump it into a tree or a divot in the yard or something to stop it. So keep in mind that it doesn't have to be, you know, ready for the car show, ready to win, best in show the day that you're done with it. That is the complete, just get that out of your mind, you know. A good example is the 66 Ford. Two things: the trim, I really want the trim on there, but I've been driving this thing for a year after I painted it without the trim, and I've just been taking my time, being patient, trying to find affordable trim, and I'm finally there. I'm missing one door. Well, I have the door piece. It was kind of in the grass at the junkyard, and I'm gonna do some stuff, some punches and some hammering to try to bring it around and just use it for a while until maybe a couple years down the road I find a nicer one and I replace it. You know what I'm saying? It's that simple. Just get the car on the road and enjoy it. Another example with that 66 is I really want an aluminum grill for the 66, which, to be honest with you, they're not hard to find at junkyards. I've seen 3 or 4 of them, but they've all been hitting the front. I don't know what it is with guys with 65, 66, whatever, Ford trucks, aluminum grills that hit stuff. Maybe that was a year for, you know, heavy drinkers. I don't know. Vietnam, I don't know what to tell you. But sourcing my catalog, I could, if I was a man made of money, and I'm not. Where did it go? All right, well, I guess it's in the old catalog. I got a 66 grill. How much is this puppy? Ezekiel's wheels, $599.95 plus the little asterisk, which means they're gonna get me on oversize charges. Oh, your order will incur a charge of $20 for each oversize. Well, that's not too hurtful. So $620 plus tax. You know, I don't know what that's gone up to these days, but you know, for now, I'll roll with the painted steel grill. That's fine. That doesn't bother me too much. And if, I don't know, I hit the lottery or, you know, run in some extra spending money, if I get the metal detector working and look around the front yard for all those mason jars full of cash that I buried 6 years ago. So I don't know what the grill is now, and to be honest with you, I'm scared to look. But to kind of recap, junkyards. But in order to be successful at the junkyards, you got to kind of know what the part is worth that you're looking for if you had to go buy it new. And I'm not going to roll out Marketplace for new old stock. And to be honest with you, I've had really good luck on eBay for new old stock and just some good shape used parts. I bought a Autolite 1100 carburetor for the 66. Been sitting on a shelf for like 40 years. Never had gas in it after it was rebuilt that I could tell. You know, I tore it apart and looked through it to make sure it wasn't wasting my time. Paid 80 bucks for it, you know, for a genuine Fomoco part. You know, it was fantastic. And the Silver Streak 8 emblems on the side of the hood, I'll never find those in a junkyard, at least not around here. There's just not a lot of Pontiacs, and when they are, they're early 50s cars from what I've experienced. So I bought those off eBay, 60 bucks or something for a pair to look good. So don't roll out eBay. I personally don't do Facebook Marketplace, where you meet someone in a group and they you have friends and family in them, $100, and they ship you part. I'm not in a position to lose $100 on a gamble like that, so I don't. Hey, chickens! Shh. Shh. Shut up. Shh. Shut up, chicken. Heard that. Anywho, yeah, so the #1 way to save big money on your project build is the junkyards. You got to track them down, grab a buddy, take a day off work or an early Saturday, know where you're going, know what you're looking for, and enjoy the day. I've never had a bad time at a junkyard. I really haven't. No, that's not true. When I was a kid, I was probably 16 years old, and I needed a driver's door for a 1974 Ford Maverick, and I was at a junkyard in Cincinnati, and we had an enormous amount of rain. And you know how junkyards can get, where you got a foot of water of ATF coolant, blood, sweat, and 15W40 and all that nonsense, mud gushing about. So we were walking kind of like, without damaging fenders and stuff and hoods, we were kind of walking across some engines over a swamp of vehicles, and there was the air filter, the 5/16 mounting bolt sticking out of a carburetor. It wasn't the big 6-incher, it was pretty short. I don't remember what it was on, but I was walking across a bunch of engines while had a Ford Maverick, 2-door door on my shoulder, and my boot came down, and that air cleaner mounting stud on that carburetor went, I felt it pop through the sole of my boot and into my foot, and I said, that's no good. And I just had to lift my foot off, and I could feel it. You could imagine what that would feel like. And then it hurt so bad I couldn't walk on top of cars anymore. Well, another extremely important aspect of doing a project car cheap is doing it yourself. That's the only way to do it. You're not going to save any money. You'll be upside down in a vehicle if you pay someone else to do it. And to do it yourself, you're going to need tools. Now, I'm first tell you right now that I've worked in the dealership for about a decade, and then I was in electrical troubleshooting for another decade, and I had all the expensive tools, and in debt to the tool man. When he came, into your bay looking for his payment, it was not happy. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that, can't believe I'm going to say this, but Wuhan Wrench, Harbor Freight, they've got pretty decent tools with lifetime warranty, hand tools that is. They got like a basic mechanic starter kit for like a couple $100, everything you possibly need. And I'm telling you right now, it can be done. Look at Derek from Vice Grip. I'll tell you what, that guy hops on a plane, small town, wherever, picks up some Harbor Freight wrenches and sockets and a floor jack, and he can bring anything back to life and drive it X amount of miles home. And I'm telling you, it's not that hard. I could probably do any project around here with a basic hand tool set and a floor jack. And some of my older Snap-ons and Matcos and Macs, they're not, as I think I broke a Snap-on screwdriver putting the hose clamp on this upper radiator hose on this here Pontiac. So what I'm telling you is, don't be ashamed. Be proud. Go get you a basic hand tool set from Harbor Freight, the old Wuhan Wrench, and that'll get you by just fine. And if it's something that you find that you really enjoy doing and you want to buy some stuff, go ahead and buy you a low level or an entry level, like that Lincoln welder, that Weld Pack 140. That's actually a really handy welder for light duty work, frames, body work, and stuff like that. You save up a little here and there, and you can have that thing, $500–600, and you can save yourself thousands of dollars doing your own project vehicles. Now, you can go above and beyond with some specialty tools, like some steering wheel pullers and stuff like that, but with some basic hand tools, and then piece stuff together as you go, you'd be surprised at what you can do yourself, and you'll have a good time doing it. So don't be afraid to invest in yourself, because the tools, they're inert, they're just sitting there. You got to act upon them, put them in the motion doing stuff. And you could save a lot of money doing that. getting the right project using the 5 P's, you know, being patient and clever with your parts, utilizing junkyards primarily, and doing everything yourself with some basic hand tools, and maybe borrow a few tools off a buddy. But remember the old rule, if you got to borrow something twice, you ought to buy it. And now, if you've stuck through this video this long, I'll reveal my big secret, my trick to getting project cars done. It's actually really simple, and I think some of you older fellas might know where I'm coming from. When you get home from a long, hard day at work, don't sit down when you get home. You know, if you've got to, go inside, kiss the missus, you know, pat the little ones on the head and say, what'd you do at school today? And then get back out there. But under no circumstances do you sit down in the recliner, and never, ever take your boots off. You know, ideally, come home, get out of the car, go straight to work on something, you know, because if you just turn one bolt an 1/8 inch at a time, and that was your goal, I guarantee you're going to turn it all the way, and you're going to keep going to the next bolt, and you're going to get a little bit done at a time. And I guarantee you, you'll be amazed in just a couple months how far you can take a project. But that's my secret to success, is when you get home from work, I don't care how tired you are, do not sit down. Do not get in that recliner. You know, supper can wait a little bit. Tell her to move supper back to like 7:30, 8 o'clock. But under no circumstances do you sit down and do you take your boots off. If you're a disciplined guy, you can go in and say hello. But sometimes it's best to get out and just go straight to that project, pop the hood, and get to work. I guarantee you, you'll be amazed at how much progress you can make in a short amount of time. I know that seems silly, and I know to some of you might be like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Because I'm telling you, it's a cold, hard fact. Do not come home, do not sit down, and do not take your boots off. Sounds a little harsh, but get to it. You got to stay on top of it. Just a little bit of progress at a time, and you'll be surprised at how fast that project's on the road, how little money you got into it, and how much fun you've had with you, your friends, your kids, your wife, turning a few wrenches. You'll get, what's the old saying, there's more smiles in a gallon of gas than in a barrel of booze. There is a lot of fun and memories to be made, pennies on the hour doing a project car here at home. Thanks for watching. If you have anything to add, you know, any of your tricks to cheap projects, go ahead and comment below. Smash the like button, subscribe, you know, turn the notifications on with the bell, which I don't know how to do. And I really appreciate everybody watching. Take care.